big man. Treat you like you're a little man.
Degenerate into something fool. We just got tired of doing what you're told to do. That's a break, boy. Yeah, that's a break, little man. Yo, stop, wanting me to be someone else. You lead like a fool on a show that you can be, boy. Yeah, that you can be, little man. Degenerate tonight.
D-Generation X In Your House is the final WWF pay-per-view of 1997, taking place on December 7th. The event drew just under 6,500 fans to the Springfield Civic Center in Massachusetts, and a reported 120,000 homes bought the show on pay-per-view, though the exact number isn't confirmed. Whatever it was though, it was low. I do like the concept of wrestlers or factions getting their own pay-per-views, but they never seem to do well in terms of numbers. The matches at DX didn't have much time to build up either though, and it does feel like a show that was kinda thrown together. Shawn Michaels defends the WWF Championship tonight against Ken Shamrock, while Triple H takes on Sgt Slaughter in a boot camp match. We also have an IC title bout. Steve Austin defends against The Rock. Let's get started and we'll see if D-Generation X In Your House was any good. Our event kicks off with Brian Christopher versus Taka Michinoku. The WWF are bringing back their light heavyweight championship, and this match right here is the finals of a tournament that's gone on over the past few weeks. Even though the company are crowning a new light heavyweight champion, there still wasn't really a light heavyweight division in the WWF. The company were bringing guys in for a match and we'd never see them again. Taka and Christopher have been the only real consistent light heavyweights, and both guys do have WWF contracts, so it makes sense that these two would meet in the finals. Taka Michinoku's the clear fan favourite here, but I really liked Brian Christopher back then. I wanted to see Brian win this one. Taka gets body slammed at the opening bell and Too Sexy laughs at his opponent. Brian laughs again after an arm drag, but the smile gets wiped from his face when the audience chants Jerry's kid. Jerry Lawler's still denying that he's the father of Too Sexy Brian Christopher. Brian's extremely proud of his hip toss and Taka isn't getting a chance to get started here. A German suplex counter though finally gets Taka into the match, and the crowd pops after a spinning wheel kick, a drop kick and a clothesline to the outside. We then see Taka's springboard plancha, and again the crowd goes nuts. Speaking of the crowd, there's a ton of empty seats at this pay-per-view. Taka gets crotched on the top rope and Christopher sends Taka back to the outside. Brian's attack from the top turnbuckle totally misses though, and Brian legit smacks his mouth on the guardrail. We can see the damage when the two get back in the ring. Daddy Lawler wonders if Brian's lost the tooth as Christopher lands a few punches in the corner. His running attack misses its target though, and Taka pulls off a tornado DDT followed by a Hurricane Rana. Taka then performs a springboard moonsault to the outside that looked awesome, and Jerry Lawler says he needs to check on Christopher. The King cleans his son up a little, but Taka knocks Christopher back to the outside, and King tries to fire Brian up a little. Jerry throws Christopher into the ring, and Brian's able to perform his full Nelson facebuster. Brian follows this up with a sit-down powerbomb, but his cocky pin gets countered, and Brian almost loses the match. Brian goes upstairs, and a missile dropkick finds the back of Taka's head. Brian creeps over to Taka, and he performs a famouser, and then he says, "I think the boy's dead," before performing a backbreaker. Taka kicks out at 2. Brian slaps Taka across the face twice. He rakes Michinoku's face while mocking him with a few crane kicks, and Taka almost goes back in control with a waistlock counter, but it's no good. Taka takes a German suplex, but Christopher's also wasting way too much time in between pin attempts. Brian hits a power slam. He signals for the Tennessee Jam. He goes upstairs and Brian misses his finishing move. Taka performs the Michinoku driver, and that's it over. Taka becomes the light heavyweight champion. This one wasn't bad at all, and I thought Christopher was especially good in this match, but it wasn't the outcome I wanted. Tony Garea, Pat Patterson and Jerry Briscoe present Taka with the light heavyweight championship. Japanese reporters are on hand to snap a few photos of Michinoku, and yeah, a good start to the pay-per-view. The gang wars continued next at D-Generation X In Your House. No story, no developments, it's the same shit we've been seeing for months. Los Boricuas versus the D.O.A. in a 6-man tag. Crush and Savio Vega are not involved in this bout. During the match, Miguel Perez Jr. seemingly hurt his leg after coming off the top rope and he rolled to the outside. Savio Vega tried to take Miguel's place, but the referee wouldn't allow it. Turns out it was all a big setup, and Miguel snuck back in the ring after Chains performed a Death Valley driver on Jose, and this resulted in Los Boricuas winning the match. These gang war matches have become nothing but fillers at this point. Nothing's ever at stake, there's no storyline changes after the bouts, and things remain exactly the same as we head into Raw's War tomorrow night. And hey, not every match on the card can be a main event, there's nothing wrong with the action inside the ring, but fans should be given a reason to care about the match outcome. There's no consequences here, win, lose or draw, and again, it's the same old shit. Doc Hendricks interviews Butterbean. Butterbean's going to fight Mero next in a tough man competition. This all started when Mero's insecurities got the better of him on Raw, and he thought Big Butterbean was checking out his wife Sable. Mero said that Butterbean isn't a real boxer, but Mero is. Butterbean hasn't beaten anybody special, whereas Mero's a former New York State Golden Gloves champion. Butterball says he has been waving at Sable and being a little friendly, but only because he feels sorry for Sable. During this interview, he gets so angry that he struggles to finish the promo.
The way he treats Sable, I'm ready to... I don't even want to talk about it.
All right, buddy, we'll just...
Michael Cole wonders if Sable's going to stand in her husband's corner tonight, or does she want some of the big bean in her life? But Sable confirms she's coming to the ring with Mero. Marc shows up and he wonders who gave Sable permission to give this interview, because it certainly wasn't him. Mero tells Sable to stop stealing his spotlight. Mero's going to destroy Butterbean right now, and the Marvelous One makes his way down to the ring for what can only be a complete fucking disaster. At least we get to hear Mero's theme music though. As mentioned, this one's going to be contested as a Tough Man contest. Tough Man contest formats vary from state to state, and the WWF of course isn't going to bother looking up any state-specific rules. This is a worked match after all. So we've got 4 2-minute rounds, and if it goes the distance, the referee will judge the winner. That seems fair, doesn't it? We get an intense stare down at the beginning of the bout, and Mero starts hamming it up. Butterbean's the aggressor right out the gate. Mero keeps going to the ropes and forcing Butterbean to back off. The crowd chants boring and they chant Sable, and then Butterbean lands a punch when Mero once again goes to the ropes. Mero falls out of the ring, and the crowd did cheer for this, by the way. As soon as the fight resumes, it's back to silence from the audience. The first round ends, and you'd probably give it to Mero, seeing as Butterbean got in a cheap shot, but Marc gets in a cheap shot of his own after the bell, and that's gonna negate things. Round 1 then, in my book, goes to Butterbean. Round 2 starts with a running knee strike from Marvelous Marc, and Marc chokes Mr. Bean with the tape from his gloves. Marc gets in a few shots, but Big Butt Munch comes back and Mero gets fucked up. Marc then rakes Butterbean's face while wearing gloves. Butterbean's been blinded, and again, Mero gets in a few free shots as the crowd continue to chant boring. This is absolutely shit. After round 2, Mero gets in another cheap shot, this time it's a dropkick, and the crowd doesn't care. Round 3 begins, and the Mean Bean Machine presents his jaw to Marvelous Marc, but Mero can't take advantage. Butterbean's all angry here, and Mero gets rocked in the corner. Mero clinches the bean, and the two then slug it out. With 9 seconds left of the round, Butterscotch lands a haymaker, and Marc gets saved by the bell. Marc's on Dream Street right now, and Butterbean wakes Mero up with a bucket of ice cold water. A big old right hand knocks Mero down at the beginning of round 4. Mero replies with a low blow, and the referee disqualifies Mero. So everything else in this fight was perfectly legal except the low blow. Got it? Marc attacks Butterbean with his corner stool, and Marc falls on his ass while getting out of the ring. The crowd laughs as Butterbean throws some shit at Mero like an angry gorilla, and Big Butthole chases Marvelous Marc back up the entranceway. I can't say enough bad things about this match. This was awful. The artist formerly known as Goldust comes to the entranceway with Luna, and they're wearing something, and Luna says the artist wants to express himself tonight. Goldust says this is a little ditty he wrote, but the crowd needs to shut up if they want to hear it, and he begins reading I Am Sam, I Am, based on Dr. Seuss's Green Eggs and Ham. The crowd boos this, they don't know what to make of it. Goldust tells the fans to shut up as he continues reading the book until eventually Luna pushes him on his ass before grabbing his chain and telling him to, quote, "Come on, you scum suck." JR and the King have no idea what they just witnessed. Between the Tough Man contest and the Goldust promo, the commentators seem to be just a little confused. 2 weeks ago, the Road Dogg Jesse James and Badass Billy Gunn defeated the Legion of Doom for the tag team titles. They won the belts and they ran away like thieves in the night, and the following week they took great delight in mocking the Road Warriors for being yesterday's news. Hawk and Animal want to win those belts back tonight. Animal says the Legion of Doom are still the best tag team in the WWF. And Hawk talks about how the current tag team champions remind him of boogers. Boogers stuck up Hawk's nose that the Road Warrior can't reach, but when he does, he picks it and he flicks it. Yeah. Road Dogg and Badass have their familiar music. Road Dogg talks smack on the way to the ring. The only thing missing still is the name of their tag team. They still haven't been named the New Age Outlaws. Road Dogg tells the fans not to feed the dinosaurs during the entrance, and the Road Warriors chase the champs back up the entranceway. Officials have to block the curtain, and the Legion of Doom end up bringing the heels down to the ring, where Road Dogg gets whipped with his own tag team belt. Animal hits Road Dogg with a clothesline. Hawk comes in and he lands a dropkick. Road Dogg tries to fight back, but he takes a neck breaker, and Hawk wipes out both champs with a clothesline from the apron to the outside. Back in the ring, Hawk pulls on Road Dogg's nose and James gets his head whacked on the announce table. Animal comes in and Road Dogg gets powerbombed after trying to leapfrog one too many times, and Billy Gunn's forced to run in and break up the cover. The champions find themselves on the outside where the Road Warriors do more damage and the future New Age Outlaws decide they've had enough. They try to leave the arena but they get caught again, and the commentators are now confused about who's the legal man. Road Dogg smashes a WWF ice cooler over Hawk's back, and Billy Gunn uses it too over Hawk's head. Gunn and Hawk then eventually resume the action back in the ring, with Billy slowing things down on the mat. The two then take each other out with a double clothesline and an accidental bump in the corner, and this leads to Animal and Road Dogg getting tagged in, and Animal cleans house. We see clotheslines, power slams, and shoulder blocks from Animal, and Road Dogg ends up in the ring all alone with the Road Warriors. James gets wiped out with corner clotheslines. The Legion of Doom signal for the Doomsday device, but here comes Henry Godwin with a slop bucket. Didn't we see this already months ago? Animal gets whacked by Godwin, but Hawk grabs the bucket. Road Dogg and Billy Gunn get taken out. The referee calls for the bell, and that means Gunn and James get disqualified, but they also keep their tag team championship belts. This match wasn't bad, but it wasn't very competitive either. Basically, it's the Road Warriors wanting to kick another tag team's ass, and this is all it needed to be, really. Sgt Slaughter returns to the ring next for a match against Triple H. Hunter got personal with Slaughter a few weeks back by talking about Slaughter's wife and saying he'd make Mrs. Slaughter see what standing to attention was really all about. DX also attacked Slaughter, but the Sarge didn't really care about getting pedigreed. He was more annoyed about the personal comments Helmsley made. After the boot camp match was announced, Triple H didn't seem to care all that much, saying that Slaughter's announcement promo was the same old thing he watched as a kid, and it's still as lame now as it ever was. So let's see if the Sarge can teach this maggot a lesson in this no disqualification contest at D-Generation X. Hunter says this isn't Slaughter's generation, this isn't the next generation, this is D-Generation. X marks the spot, and when Hunter gets done, he'll show there's no hard feelings by visiting Slaughter's house and letting his old lady smoke on Hunter's peace pipe. How very edgy of you, Mr. Helmsley. Slaughter, meanwhile, says he may be old, but he's not dead. This old jarhead's gonna beat that puke Triple H up pretty bad, and that's an order. So Slaughter's ordering himself to beat up Triple H, I guess. Sarge makes his way down to the ring. Hunter tells him to get his chin on these balls, and here we go. Slaughter took a Stone Cold Stunner on Raw like a champ, and he took the pedigree well too, so let's see how well he does tonight. He's around 49 years old here, but moving around well while hitting Triple H with a riding crop. Triple H gets whipped across the back, across the face. Sarge kicks Hunter in the midsection and he pulls off a gutbuster. Expectations were low, not gonna lie, but Slaughter's keeping it simple here and staying within his limits. On the outside, Triple H gets his head slammed on the ring steps, and the punishment continues when the commissioner drops Helmsley on the guardrail. Slaughter then covers Hunter on the outside and the referee refuses to count. It's kinda funny how this is Slaughter's speciality match and he forgot the rules, although they're probably making it up as they go along. The belt comes off in the ring and Hunter gets whipped. Hunter's done absolutely nothing so far, and he better get his act together as Slaughter tightens the belt around Hunter's neck. Slaughter then hits a clothesline and he signals for the Cobra Clutch, but Hunter kicks the Sarge away and the commissioner gets sent over the top rope after a pretty impressive corner bump. Man, Sgt Slaughter wasn't afraid to bump in 1997, not afraid at all. Hunter sends the Sarge into the ring steps and Slaughter finds himself on the wrong side of the guardrail. One punch sends Sarge back over, and Triple H decides he wants the ring bell. Marc though fucking loves that ring bell and he doesn't feel like handing it over, so Triple H clocks him with it and he goes to attack Slaughter. Slaughter counters with a clothesline. We see a shot of the timekeeper and he's out cold. And when we cut back to the competitors, Triple H smacks Sarge with the ring bell, so it wasn't all for nothing, I guess. Back in the ring, Hunter uses Slaughter's belt to launch the Commissioner across the ring. China hands Triple H a small chain, and Sarge gets rocked in the face twice. Sarge kicks out of the follow-up cover and he tries to use the chain himself, but he gets backdropped out of the ring. The competitors had the crowd at the beginning of the match, but it sounds like they're losing him. There's a hush in the arena here and it's not good. They do get the crowd back a little when Hunter jumps off the top rope and Slaughter gets a boot up. Slaughter's absolutely wrecked though, and he doesn't have the power to body slam Helmsley, but he does have the strength to counter a suplex. You could hear Triple H calling the spot here, and you can clearly see Hunter telling Slaughter his next spot. Slaughter goes upstairs and Triple H counters with a big slam. Helmsley then applies a sleeper. The crowd's dead once again. This sleeper stays in for a pretty long time, but the crowd get back into it when Slaughter counters with the Cobra Clutch. China gets in the ring. She shoves the referee and she rakes Slaughter in the eyes. Jack Doan tries to send China out of the ring, but he takes a forearm to the face and China decides to grab a chair. She lines up her shot. She lifts the chair high in the air, but the Sarge has only gone and dipped into Shawn's fanny pack and China gets blinded with that sweet white powder. China falls out of the ring. Triple H attacks Slaughter with his boot. The stench knocks Slaughter down, but he gets his ass up and he locks in the Cobra Clutch again. This should be it all over. Helmsley's fading away, but China hits Slaughter with a stiff kick right in Slaughter's privates, and that's the end of our match. Triple H pedigrees Slaughter on the chair and Triple H wins the boot camp match. It wasn't great to be honest, but as mentioned, expectations weren't high going into this one either. A member of DX has just defeated the WWF's main authority figure though, and it's kinda symbolic of the whole you make the rules and we'll break 'em mentality that DX has. If only there was another authority figure who could step up and try to restore some sort of order. Someone who would give his detractors no chance in hell. Jeff Jarrett's finally going to wrestle when he steps into the ring with The Undertaker. Jarrett put himself over big time when he returned to the World Wrestling Federation, acting like the second coming of God himself by ripping into the current roster while also tearing into Vince McMahon and Eric Bischoff. Jarrett wouldn't wrestle on Raw after getting booked twice. He wasn't happy with his locker room, the food, the water, his selected opponents, and the lack of promotion the WWF put behind his TV matches. So Commissioner Slaughter gave Jarrett exactly what he wanted. A big match on pay-per-view against a legend of the WWF, the Phenom himself, The Undertaker. Jarrett says that winning tonight's match will be his ticket to the WWF Championship. Jarrett beats the Dead Man, he becomes the #1 contender, and it's just a matter of time before the world's greatest wrestler wins the big one. Jeff comes out in his dog shit gear, and gotta say, his theme music's pretty good. It could do without Jeff talking over the top of it, but it's a pretty good Jim Johnston creation here. The Undertaker makes his entrance and the mood instantly changes in the arena. Like The Undertaker or not, the man had the crowd in the palm of his hand as soon as he stepped out on the entranceway every time he was booked for a show. So there's maybe a bit of intrigue here. Would Jeff wrestle a different style? Would he change how he goes about his matches? Or is this the same Jeff Jarrett, only now with questionable ring gear? Well, he's still cocky, that's for sure. He manages to punch The Undertaker, but he won't follow up. Instead, he gets backed into a corner where he has no choice but to fight back, but he's doing no damage at all. The Dead Man destroys the self-proclaimed world's greatest wrestler, and Jeff realizes he may have fucked up by coming back to the WWF. Undertaker hits a clothesline on Jarrett and Jeff gets his head whacked on the top turnbuckle. The Dead Man performs old school, always good to see, and Jeff gets choked in the corner. Jarrett's able to stun Taker with a back elbow, and he tries an aerial attack, but the Dead Man grabs him by the throat, and this really could be the end. Jeff readjusts his strategy though, and he remembers what Ric Flair taught him in the Four Horsemen, and he escapes by going after the leg. The leg and knee then become a target, and this seems to be an effective game plan, but one that Jarrett can't fully deliver. Taker shakes off quite a lot of punishment, and he delivers a backbreaker followed by a big leg drop. We then see a big boot. Jarrett gets thrown in the corner, and the lights go out in the arena. The Undertaker's little brother's here, and he's gonna step into the ring to confront the Dead Man. This is the first time Kane and Taker have stood in the ring together since Bad Blood. It's pretty intense here, and we're unsure what's gonna happen. Kane decides to take out Jarrett first with a chokeslam, allowing the Devil's favourite demon to get a little closer to the Undertaker and look at his brother right in the eyes before slapping him hard across the face. Kane's trying to bait his brother into fighting him, but Taker already said he wouldn't fight his own flesh and blood. Kane sets sets off his pyro, The Undertaker doesn't flinch, and Kane leaves the ring along with Paul Bearer. Let's just call it as we see it, Kane bitch slapped his bitch brother. Jarrett wins via DQ, there's an awful lot of DQs in this pay-per-view, and he celebrates by trying to put The Undertaker in the figure 4. But Taker grabs Jarrett and he's so fired up that he almost throws Jarrett over his head when trying a chokeslam. It results in the chokeslam looking a little weak if I'm honest, but still, Taker leaves the ring and Jarrett celebrates a DQ victory. In terms of reintroducing Jarrett to WWF audiences, I'd say this wasn't good. It's the exact same Jeff Jarrett we have watched over the last year on Nitro, trying to convince people he's better than what he truly is. Thankfully though, he will get involved in something a little more interesting very soon. Speaking of reintroductions, Michael Cole interviews Mark Henry in the audience. Mark's been away for quite some time, but he's remained under contract and he's getting prepared for a return to WWF television. Henry's hanging out with the sponsors, the boys at Milton Bradley. Mark says he's looking forward to his big return, but right now he's rooting for Stone Cold in the next matchup. The IC title's on the line. It's Austin versus Rock, though Rock has possession of the IC Championship belt. The night after Survivor Series, Austin granted Rock a shot at the IC title, but Rock decided to steal the belt the following week while Austin was dealing with other members of the nation. Stone Cold tried to get it back by surprising Rock with a 316 message on Rocky's pager, but Rock was still able to escape with the title. And just this past week on Raw, Austin sent another message to Rocky by driving into the arena in his pickup truck and blaring AC/DC's Back in Black during Rock's match with Vader. Shit's on tonight. This is the first Rock versus Austin match to take place on a WWF pay-per-view. Rock cuts a promo before the match and it's Rocky doing all the talking now. Farouk doesn't say a word and you never really saw this during Nation promos before Rock joined the group. Rock says he's gonna show why he's the best damn Intercontinental Champion there ever was before making his entrance, and Rock's got all the heat tonight. Have a listen. The crowd lose their minds though when Austin drives right up to the ring in his Stone Cold pickup truck. Austin gets in the ring and the fight's on. Look at the crowd standing on their feet. The Nation attack Austin. It's an absolute beatdown before the match even begins. D.O.A tries to run at Stone Cold and he gets backdropped onto the truck's windshield. Austin then hits a Stone Cold stunner on top of his ride, and good God, this crowd is finally waking up. This is awesome. Stone Cold gets back inside the ropes, the bell rings, and we see the Luthez press as the crowd continue making noise, but Austin quickly finds himself on the outside again and the Nation launch another attack. The faction bring Austin to the pickup truck, Kama grabs a chair, Austin moves out of the way and Farouk gets cracked. Kama then gets whipped hard into the truck and a loud Austin chant breaks out in the arena. Back in the ring, Rock's able to take advantage and he hits a low blow while Kama distracts Mike Chioda. Austin gets hit with a hard right hand, he gets choked at the ropes. Rock kicks and punches Austin in the corner, but Austin fights back with a few right hands of his own. Rock's able to body slam Austin in the middle of the ring. We see the people's elbow, and there's a chin lock from the future Great One. Could this match get any better? The crowd are now chanting 316, and this could possibly be Austin's biggest babyface reaction we've seen so far in Reliving the War. Springfield loves Stone Cold, and this match really feels like a shot of adrenaline to this pay-per-view. Rock goes for a second people's elbow, but Austin moves out of the way. More right hands from the Rattlesnakes send Rocky to the corner, and Austin proceeds to stomp a mudhole in his opponent. Austin then ducks a clothesline, he goes for the stunner, but he's distracted by Kama on the apron. Austin takes out Kama and he tries to pick up where he left off, but he ends up accidentally stunning the referee. The cameras unfortunately miss this. Rock puts on some brass knucks, he swings at Austin, but Austin ducks it and we see the stunner. Another referee runs down to count to 3 and the bell rings, but if you look closely, Mike Chioda is waving for a DQ. Either way, Austin got what he came for, he got his IC Championship belt back. The finish of the match is quite important though and often overlooked, because the controversy surrounding the ending leads to Steve Austin making an important decision tomorrow night on Raw. Good match though, and definitely the match of the night so far. Shawn Michaels won the WWF Championship at Survivor Series, and Shawn's biggest rival left the company following the infamous title match in Montreal. Sgt Slaughter announced the next night that Ken Shamrock's the #1 contender for the title, and Ken gets his shot tonight at D-Generation X. The build-up has been terribly basic, with the best moment being Shawn getting in the zone and showing the world how he's prepared himself for the ankle lock. Triple H twisted Shawn's foot a full 360 degrees while Shawn sucked a lollipop, but later in the night Shamrock applied the ankle lock and Shawn tapped out, still sucking the lollipop. I mentioned on Reliving the War that I really didn't feel Ken should have been in this title match. He did an amazing job at Survivor Series in a pretty much forgotten traditional Survivor Series match against the Nation, and he was getting good crowd reactions too. But let's face it, he wasn't going to win the belt at an event named D-Generation X, and he and Shawn didn't have much story going into this one either. Shawn did mention that Shamrock was a friend of Bret Hart's on TV, and Shawn wanted to wipe out the Hitman's friend, seeing as he already took out the whole family, but that's all there is here really. Shamrock says when he gets in his zone tonight there'll be a lot of hurting going on and HBK's gonna squeal like a baby. HBK's got on some sweet ring gear and he says tonight he shows Shamrock why he's the number one guy not only in the WWF but in the entire wrestling industry.
Girth Brooks, get that tub of goo.
Thanks a lot.
Sure, anytime.
The confidence is pouring out of HBK as he, Hunter and Chyna get prepared behind the curtain. The D-Generation X team plays in the arena and Shawn makes his entrance, getting a surprisingly decent crowd response. I'm hoping this match surprises me though. I haven't watched this one in a very long time and I've got it in my head right now that it's nothing special. I thought the same thing about other matches I've covered on the channel and the matches turn out to be way better than I remember. So let's see what happens when HBK meets the world's most dangerous man in tonight's main event. Shawn immediately mocks Ken's fighting stance, but he quickly backs off when Shamrock goes to attack. The veteran then lays in a few right hands. There's a lot of speed as Shawn hits the ropes and it makes Shamrock's kick look all the better. Shawn takes the kick right on the chest and the WWF champ's going to get a little reassurance from his DX teammates on the outside. HBK tells JR and the King where he's hurting, right below the pecs. JR says he couldn't care less. Earl Hebner calms Shamrock down as Shawn gets back in the ring. Shawn hides in the corner. The two go back to work with HBK applying a wrist lock and Shamrock grabbing Shawn by the throat and throwing the champ in the corner. Shawn gets launched across the ring. He takes a back body drop. The Flair corner bump then sends Michaels back to the outside, and the damage is so bad that Hunter decides to give HBK a quick massage. DX huddle up and they come up with a plan. Chyna's going to distract Ken on the apron, Shawn's going to sneak up and, yeah, that didn't work. Shawn holds onto the ropes after an Irish whip and he decides the best thing to do in this situation is to spit on your opponent. I like how Earl Hebner acted like it was Reptile's acid spit from Mortal Kombat. Shawn then lays in the punches in the corner but he gets pie-faced twice. Ken brings Shawn down with a body shot. We see a vertical suplex from the world's most dangerous man, and there's a ton of velocity as Michaels gets clotheslined out of the ring. Shamrock's all fired up tonight at D-Generation X, so much so that he almost smacks Earl Hebner, but he focuses his anger and he smashes Shawn and Hunter's heads together. Still, Shawn rakes the eyes and he slides back in the ring, going on to lay in more punches but getting stopped in his tracks after a sunset flip attempt. Shamrock again grabs Shawn by the neck and Ken goes to work in the corner. Shawn loses his smile once again after getting his little degenerate smashed on the top rope. Ken then tries to end it with a belly to belly, but Shawn holds on to Earl Hebner, eventually hitting Ken with a low blow and sending Ken out of the ring with a clothesline. Shawn skins the cat and he distracts Earl long enough for Triple H to get in a few cheap shots. HBK then delivers a flying crossbody from the top to the outside, and Michaels seems to be in control now for the first time in this match. Shawn hits a baseball slide, but he misses the second. The numbers are too much though for Kenny Boy, and Chyna sends Shamrock into the ring post. Shawn gets back in the ring to distract the ref, and Ken gets body slammed by the ninth wonder of the world, and Shawn delivers a splash from the apron. It's 3-on-1 here, and it looks like it's all over for Ken Shamrock. Ken gets thrown back inside the ropes and Shawn lands his elbow drop to Shamrock's back. We see a drop kick from HBK. Shawn chokes Ken in the corner and on the middle rope, giving Triple H another opportunity to punch Ken in the face. Shamrock gets a chance when he rolls through after a crossbody, but he only gets a 2 count. The Heartbreak Kid rakes Ken in the face again and he brings it down with a chin lock. Shamrock breaks free and he manages to cover Michaels, but Shawn kicks out. HBK hits a clothesline and we then see a sleeper from the champion. Ken breaks free by ramming Shawn into the corner. HBK gets hit with a few hard clotheslines and we see a big back body drop from Ken. The challenger then delivers a jumping back elbow and a power slam and Ken's now in the zone. We see the Frankensteiner. This usually gets followed up with the belly to belly and the ankle lock, but Shawn manages to perform a crucifix. Ken counters with a cover, but a thumb to the eye stops Ken's momentum, and then this happens. Shamrock's head snaps across the top rope, and it didn't look very pretty. Shamrock looks dazed as he counters a Hurricane Rana with a sit-down powerbomb. Shawn then decides to distract the referee again, allowing Hunter and China to pull Shamrock out of the ring. And I could be wrong here, but I think an audible might have been called and we're going straight to the finish due to Ken's accident on the top rope. But don't quote me on that. You do see Shawn communicating with practically everyone after the powerbomb though. Shamrock gets back in the ring, Michaels hits his diving elbow. He then warms up the band, but Ken counters with a belly to belly. Ken then applies the ankle lock and Hunter and China hit the ring. It's a DQ finish and the crowd boos. You can see fans filing out right away. They don't care to hang around, but they're gonna miss something pretty good here. Shamrock takes a beating inside and outside the ring, and Shawn celebrates on the apron. Someone then pushes Shawn, and HBK goes through the announce table, and it's Owen Hart. Owen beats the hell out of Michaels with a ton of right hands, and he escapes just before Hunter and China grab him. And look at that push again on the replay. That looked pretty good. Shamrock gets brought back up the entranceway by officials, and even after getting jumped by Brett's younger brother, Shawn still gets back in the ring to celebrate. There's so many empty seats as the cameras continue to roll, but there you have it. Owen Hart's back in the World Wrestling Federation, Shawn retains the title, and yeah, the match wasn't really any better or any worse than what I remember it being. I think HBK relying on Hunter and China kinda takes away from the match, and I know he's a heel and all that, but you kinda prefer seeing Michaels go one-on-one with no bullshit. The pacing felt a bit off in this one, and I do think they went home a little earlier than planned, but in all honesty, it's not a match I'd rank very highly. It's passable, but both guys have had way better matches.
Are you ready?
D-Generation X in your house wasn't great. I thought Rock vs Austin was good though, and the opening light heavyweight match was pretty fun too, but that's about it. Half the matches on this show end in disqualification too, and that lends itself to the idea that this show was kinda thrown together without much thought, as mentioned at the top of the video. Again, I like the idea of a DX pay-per-view, and I like the idea of NWO Sold Out also, but clearly I'm in the minority because both shows didn't do too well, and it's funny how the actual in-ring action on both shows wasn't great either, except for one or two matches. So I'd say go out of your way to watch Rock vs Austin just for the energy and the crowd, but you could probably skip the rest. Thanks for watching though guys, and hopefully I'll see you all next Thursday for Reliving the War. Take care.
Degenerate into something fool. We just got tired of doing what you're told to do. That's a break, boy. Yeah, that's a break, little man. Well, you better get used to the way the war bounces. I see what you got, inventions and ounces. But that's a break, boy. Yeah, that's a break, little man. Degeneration! Degeneration! Don't tell me what it's like to be half a man. It must break your heart to see what I am, boy. That's a break, boy. Yeah, that's a break, little man. Yo, stop, wanting me to be someone else. Put it lead like a fool on a shelf that you can be, boy. Yeah, that you can be, little man.
Think you're a big